What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's HorrorFan34, and welcome to another video. And welcome to another movie review for the Christmas Day Challenge. Now we are on the fourth film, day 4 of the challenge for Christmas. I figured I've been doing a lot of like Christmas comedies. I did the two Home Alone films and Scrooged. Now it's time to venture into the horror category of Christmas films. And I figured why not the first Christmas horror film to tackle will be this one. I mean, it's my second favorite Christmas horror film of all time behind Silent Night, Deadly Night. And if you can tell by the title of the video already, that review for today is going to be on Black Christmas. Now, of course, like I said, this is the original classic from 1974. Actually came out the same year as the original Chainsaw Massacre did. And Chainsaw Massacre really was like the first. These two were really the first like influential slasher films in the slasher genre, because then you had films like Halloween afterwards and Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and then you would have a lot of other slashers come out in the 80s. You would have things like, The Prowler and Just Before Dawn and Maniac. I mean, you would have a lot of slasher films coming out around this time, and it was mainly because of these two, Black Christmas and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the 70s. But of course, the original classic, written and directed by the late great Bob Clark, who I've always really enjoyed his work as a director. Bob Clark, I tell you, he did a lot of variety of movies in his career. He did a lot of different categories. He did the original Black Christmas, he did Christmas Story, Porky's, Rhinestone with Stallone, he did that. I'm trying to think what else he did. Loose Cannons, that's another fun one with Gene Hackman and Dan Aykroyd. I would definitely say this is I'm trying to think of my favorite Bob Clark. I'd probably say this is my favorite Bob Clark film. I think this is his masterpiece, in my opinion. The original Black Christmas is easily one of my favorite horror films of all time. Definitely like one of my favorite 70s horror films. Easily one of my favorite films from the 70s period. I mean, if you don't know the story about the original Black Christmas, it's about a bunch of sorority sisters who get stalked by a killer. Pretty much. And that's pretty much the idea of the story. Now, I'm not going to compare this too much to the remake of Black Christmas, not the newer one that came out. I mean the one from 2006. But I really like this film a lot. I mean, you have a really good cast. You have Olivia Hussey, you have Margot Kidder, may she rest in peace. John Saxon, may he rest in peace. As some of the actors in here. I mean, this is just it's such a really good cast, and it was cool to see some of these actors like Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder from the original Superman, the original Amityville Horror. She went on to be in the original Amityville Horror. Actually, this is before that. John Saxon, of course. This was the year after he did Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, and of course he would be in Nightmare on Elm Street. I forget it was. What was that one? I'm not remembering the movie, but but John Saxon, great actor. He's greatly missed. I miss John Saxon. Same thing with Margot Kidder, and the same thing with Bob Clark as well. Bob Clark did a lot of really good stuff, and unfortunately, his life was cut short by a drunk driver. Him and his son were both killed in the accident, sadly. But of course that's the original poster art for the film, Black Christmas. Now, if you're going to go into this film expecting a whole lot of gore, a lot of blood, then this is not going to be the film for you. You want to see that, go watch the remake from 2006. That's a gory movie. This one is more of a character study, kind of like movie. What I think of this film, I kind of think of this film as Jaws, but if Jaws was a slasher film. And what I mean by that is when you think about the first Jaws film, which came out a year after this. If you think about Jaws, that was a film where it was about a killer shark, but you don't really see the shark too much because they try to build up the suspense and build up the characters and things like that. So, and it works really, really well for Jaws. Kind of the same thing here, where you don't really see the killer that much because it's kind of like more of a slow burn horror film where you don't really see the killer that much. In a very similar fashion to Jaws, where you don't see the shark that much. In this one, you don't really see the killer too much. And I think, and because they want to build, the atmosphere and the make it more suspenseful, things like that. And I think it works terrifically. The score is really really good as well. I like the musical score. Of course, my favorite death scene in the movie is the plastic bag over the head, which you can see actually here, right there. And I think Bob Clark did an excellent job directing the film as well. And it was just cool. It's a cool Christmas slasher film, but it's not really a slasher film that the younger generation might not care for, because I think maybe like the younger generation would be kind of more into like more of the gorier stuff. But if you really want to see like old school, like those kind of like things, I know like maybe like I'm saying maybe not a lot of people nowadays would care for this, but there are a select few that really do like older school stuff, like of the current generation. I mean, I don't know, but a lot of the audience, like the general audience, does tend to go with a lot of blood and guts and gore. I mean, it's more fun that way. Don't get me wrong; it is a lot more fun when there's blood and all that stuff. But it's also really cool to see slow burn slashers like this. I'm a big fan of like slow burn slashers, whether it be like this, Just Before Dawn's a slow burn slasher, kind of like if Friday the 13th was kind of more of a slow burn slasher, kind of like in a camp setting. That's what Just Before Dawn is. Things like that. And I think the slow burn build-up works very, very well. You got a great atmosphere. I really like the setting in the sorority house. Very well directed by Bob Clark. And I tell you, this is a really good Scream Factory Blu-ray. You got a great documentary on the film, interviews with the cast. I mean, you get interviews with Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, John Saxon, Bob Clark, before they all passed away. You have a commentary with Bob Clark. You have a commentary with John Saxon, one of the other actors. Of course, you have a commentary with the killer, Billy, who's right there. Now, there's not really too many differences between this and the 2006 remake, because the 2006 remake deals with the same thing, a bunch of sorority sisters. You still have the killer of Billy, things like that, but in the remake they kind of go more into Billy's backstory, and it's kind of pretty fucked up backstory in the remake. They show quite a bit. It's pretty fucked up shit, a lot of fucked up shit. But I also really like the Black Christmas remake from 2006, not the newer piece of shit one that came out. Not that one. I mean the one from '06 that was directed by Glenn Morgan. I actually really liked the Black Christmas remake. I thought it was fun, it was gory, and it was cool to see some of the actors in there, like Katie Cassidy, Michelle Trachtenberg. I'm trying to think who else was in there. And I think, I forget which one of the actors in here, but one of the actors from the original was actually in the remake. I don't remember the name, though. I'm probably going to look it up as soon as I'm done this video. But if you really want to see one of the best Christmas horror films out there, you want to see a true, like, Christmas horror masterpiece, I say Black Christmas is definitely the one to check out. And so that's pretty much it for my review for Black Christmas. And so I really do appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned for more. So I'll see you guys next time.